guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Kotobukiya ArtFX Plus Superpowers Superman statue. That's right, Kotobukiya is releasing a new line of ArtFX Plus statues that pays homage to the vintage Superpowers toy line. Many of us grew up playing with the Superpowers action figures as kids, so this is pretty cool to get a new statue collectible that is based on those old toys. So let's go ahead and check this guy out. As you can see, the box that he comes inside of is a very cool homage to the classic blister card packaging that the old Kenner Superpowers figures also came packaged on. You can see an image of the statue on the left-hand side that looks as though it is sealed in a blister bubble, and it's got that same Superman artwork right there on the front along with the Superpowers logo that is seen on the vintage packaging. And when you turn the box around to the side, we even get a side view of the blister bubble, so that's pretty cool. Also, you'll notice that there's a lot of fake wear and tear seen on the box there that makes it look as though this is a vintage card back, so that's pretty fun. When you flip the box around to the backside, we get a description of the Superman Classic ArtFX Plus statue, a little image showing how the cool interchangeability feature works, and we get a little glimpse at the other Superpower statues that Kotobukiya is releasing in this new ArtFX Plus line. And while some of them are just silhouettes and question marks, you'll notice underneath that we get a listing of all of the figures that are coming out in this lineup. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up Superman from the box and take a closer look at him. When you pull him out of the box, you'll notice that there is no assembly required. This guy comes out of the packaging completely ready for display on your shelf. He is in the 1/10 scale, just like we've seen with the other ArtFX Plus statues, which means he stands about 7 inches tall, a little bit taller than that actually. So he'll fit in just fine with the other DC Comics ArtFX Plus statues that you may already have in your collection. It's a very cool design for a statue. One thing that you're going to notice right away is that he does look like a big action figure. One of the things that Kotobukiya did with this guy that's really neat is they worked into the design little cuts seen at the shoulders and at the hips that make him look like an action figure. But it's worth noting that this is a statue, so even though he has those articulation cuts, he isn't articulated like an action figure. But it's a really neat design. You can see it all the way down the legs, you can see it in the knees, the hips there. It's a very cool aesthetic that makes him look just like his action figure counterpart, but updated with a beautiful sculpt from Kotobukiya. The paint deco on here is also incredible. He's got bright, vibrant colors, just like that vintage toy. So a very bright blue seen in the costume, a very clean S-shield seen right there on his chest. So a really great look to the costume that is very reminiscent of the way he looks on the vintage toy. Same goes for that head sculpt. You can see it's a really fantastic sculpt with the head there. He's got that nice deep black hair with the Superman S-curl dangling on his forehead there. And it's got that very vintage toy feel to it. Another thing you'll notice about this guy that we don't usually see on the Kotobukiya statues is the fact that he features a cloth cape. And the cape is actually made of a very similar material that the vintage toy capes were made out of, so it's very nice, but also feels very sturdy, very durable, so I don't think you'll have to worry about it fraying or anything like that. It's very nicely done. It even has the S-shield kind of emblazoned right there on the back, just like the one on the vintage toy, and it is worked in so that it is part of the sculpt. It's non-removable. You can see that it is attached to the top of the statue there. It hangs very nicely, it's got a nice flow to it there, and again, it does a really good job of capturing the feel of the vintage toy, but now done in this very cool collectible statue. Now, most of Kotobukiya's ArtFX Plus statues also come with display bases, but the Superpowers line does not. He also does not have the magnets on the bottom of his feet, in case you were wondering about that. But he balances just fine. You can see that there is no issues popping this guy down on your shelf or a flat surface, and he balances just fine, so he is perfect and ready for display. Now, he does feature one really cool little interchangeable piece. You'll notice that in the box, he comes with this crazy interchangeable right arm, where it looks as though he has 3 arms there. The reason for this is to recreate the vintage action feature of that power punch. The old Superman toy had a feature where if you squeezed his legs together, he would actually fling his arm up and down as if he was doing a punch. So that's kind of what this is. This basically just pays homage to that vintage action feature. It's very easy to swap that out. You'll notice that fake articulation cut there on the right arm also functions very nicely to hide the fact that the arm is interchangeable. You can pull that right out. It's just a nice little peg there, and you can pop the new one in its place. Just got to kind of move the cape out of the way. It's a nice firm hold, so it locks in place very nicely. And now we can pose Superman to make it look as if that action feature is in use. It's a really fun little way to pose this guy off, and again, a nice way to kind of pay homage to that vintage action figure that we all love. Alright, so I keep talking about that vintage action figure, so we gotta do this. It's comparison time. Here he is standing alongside my personal vintage Superpower Superman. Now, unfortunately, my vintage figure has definitely been played with. He is not in the best condition, but you still get an idea looking at these guys side by side. My old one's missing the cape, and unfortunately the action feature no longer works. It's broken. Otherwise, I'd show you guys how that power punch works, but I still wanted to stand these guys side by side, so that way you can see what the updated Kotobukiya statue looks like next to that vintage action figure. And also, I want to go ahead and stand him alongside the already released ArtFX Plus New 52 Superman, just so you can see how these guys stand side by side, scale-wise. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Superpowers ArtFX Plus Classic Superman from Kotobukiya. I think this is a really fun line of statues. Like I said, many of us grew up playing with the Superpowers collection. They were sort of like our very first DC figures. So to get something that's a real throwback to that vintage line in a collectible statue form is a really great idea. Plus, on top of that, Kotobukiya is releasing these at a lower price point than we usually see with a lot of their collectible statues. You can grab these for about $30 a piece, which is a really cool deal. And that way you can collect just your favorite Superpowers ArtFX Plus statues or the entire set that's coming out, and it'll make for a really cool and unique display on your collection shelf. So for more information on the ArtFX Plus Superpowers line or any of Kotobukiya's other products, be sure to check them out online at www.kotous.com and give them a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Kotobukiya. Until next time, my friends.